Hello, it's Friday. Welcome to AM News. My name is Denise Yapomaiji. Now, the governing New Patriotic Party has torn into the OSP for its latest work on Airbus Scandal, describing the investigation as shoddy because both courts in the UK and US found Airbus SE culpable of bribery. According to the OSP, there's no evidence to show that all parties, including former President John Mahama and his brother named in the Airbus scandal, indeed received bribes from employees and associates of Airbus. Special Prosecutor Kisi Ejebi indicates that their investigations did not establish there was any criminality in the deal, even though there was evidence of correspondence between the parties involved. The MPP says this work by the OSP was lazy. More from the MPP later, but first, here's Special Prosecutor exonerating former President John Mahama.
The processes leading to the purchase by the government of Ghana of 3 C-295 twin turboprop military transport aircraft from Airbus followed substantially the same pattern. Parliament approved the proposed transactions in 2011. In accordance with the laws of Ghana, in the estimation of the OSP, there was nothing remarkable about the deal, and it certainly would not have found its way in the UK and US deferred prosecution agreements and made headlines around the world, but for the involvement of former President John Dramani Mahama and his younger brother of the full blood, Samuel Adam Foster, also known as Samuel Adam Mahama, and his associates, as recounted in the UK and US deferred prosecution agreements. The OSP investigation found no evidence that former President Mahama was involved or played any role in the procurement and maintenance of the agency relationship between Airbus and Foster and his associates in respect of the purchase by the government of Ghana of military transport aircraft from Airbus. And it appears to the OSP that the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal were actuated by good intentions on the part of the former president. It also appears that Foster and his associates became involved as intermediaries in the Airbus Ghana deal after the decision by the government of Ghana in preference of the C-295 aircraft. Therefore, it seems that Foster's Airbus intermediary role at the time his brother served as the vice president of Ghana was a case of luckless coincidence that attracted the disapproval of the UK and US authorities. The OSP found no evidence that suggests that the involvement of Foster as an intermediary of Airbus and the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal between Airbus and the government of Ghana amounted to any corruption and corruption-related offense in respect of which the OSP has a mandate. However, it ought reasonably to have occurred to former President Mahama and the government of Ghana that the familiar relationship between former President Mahama and Foster and the direct participation by former President Mahama in the communications and meetings with Airbus officials were bound to raise reasonable suspicions of improper conduct and dealings, notwithstanding any claims to good faith conduct and above-board dealings, especially in light of the fact that during the first Airbus campaign, former President Mahama was a chairman of the Armed Forces Council by reason of his position as a vice president, and therefore a very key decision maker. Such close proximity dealings by such elected high officials of the Republic and their kin and close associates on behalf of the Republic should neither be viewed favorably nor encouraged, as they give rise to reasonable suspicion of influence peddling and conflict of interest, never mind any intended good faith on the part of the vice president or the president.
But the governing MPP says the OSP has done a shoddy investigation because both courts in the UK and US found them culpable of bribery. Haruna Mohammed is Deputy General Secretary of the party.
Individual commits a crime outside and you are gathering evidence, What stops you from taking the evidence from there? Is there any law in Ghana that says that you can't pick a judgment of a competent court of jurisdiction in another jurisdiction to establish your case and prosecute your case in your country? There is no such law. And that is why I say that the OSP has done a lazy job. Because the OSP did a lazy job because you can't conclude by saying that because you don't have the facts at hand, you don't have all the facts at hand, hence you cannot prosecute that case. Did he go to ask for the judgment? What was the material used in the judgment in the UK?
And he says he did.
So he could have done that. He could have done that and get the document. Has he been denying the judgment? We know how a judgment is written. All the opinions of judges sitting on the panel will indicate their position and quote the necessary laws to back their decision. And he would have been able to establish those particular facts. But what is key in Ghana now is that we have an individual who has been confirmed in the UK, and then the special prosecutor has established the case that he is indeed the government official one, because he was the vice president. He later became president. What was he doing with a contract where it is confirmed by special prosecutor that he was sending emails directly by himself to Airbus as a company? Was he the contractor? Was he the contractor? He was not the contractor. So he has no business to be sending emails on such a contract. That is very dubious, very scandalous, very, very bad to the state of Ghana.
Well, the NDC disagrees, insisting the findings by the OSP reaffirms the MPP's sinister claims against John Mahama. Mustafa Bandi is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC.
What is very important here is that President Mahama stand exonerated, cleaned by the special prosecutor. We all know that both in the UK and in the US, there was nothing substantial. There was no culpability against him. But what happened here in Ghana was a politically motivated propaganda, and they are standing to use that propaganda again, which has fallen flat on the floor. It has fallen flat for lack of evidence, falling flat for lack of merit, falling flat because if you look at the people who intend to even use that, to hang on that, they are worse. If a relative engaged in business whilst you're in government was a crime, President Akufo-Addo should have been publicly executed. Publicly. Because as for him, he's worse. We've never had a president who have syndicated family takeover of government like he did. He didn't just, Ken Ofori-Atta didn't just have a company that did business. He is a relative of the president, who was our finance minister, under whom President Akufo-Addo and his children siphoned state money through contracts that have yet been established by the Auditor General. So these things are not political conversations. This is what the Auditor General have said.
Now, away from the Airbus scandal, armed officers of the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service, under the supervision of the Accra Circuit Court and the Narcotics Control Commission, has burnt 242 sacks of marijuana, 16 kilograms of cocaine, and buckets of heroin as part of efforts to clamp down on the production, sale, and usage of narcotic substances in Ghana. The move is also part of a broader strategy by law enforcers to break down the criminal network involved in the trade of illicit drugs in the country. Latif Idris was at the Osu Beach, where the destruction took place, and has come through with this report.
242 50-kilogram size of fertilizer sacks filled with compressed marijuana set on fire. The substance is usually lit in blunt papers, or what others call rolling papers, and sandwiched between two welcoming lips. Unfortunately and frustratingly for users of the substance which is worth market value of about hundreds of thousands of Ghana cedis, is up in flames here at the Osu Beach.
We are here to destroy some substances, cocaine, dry leaves, that's cannabis. After those cases have been dealt with by the court. Judgment has been delivered. Orders were made for their destruction. That is why we are here.
If you look at the substances being destroyed today, somebody will say that, can we give it to company or institution that have been given license to trade in cannabis? Do you do that?
As for that one, I don't have that power to say anything concerning that.
Can you share with us the circumstances under which these substances were seized?
The people were arrested by the police and then charged and brought to court. And judgment has been delivered in the cases. That is why we are here for their destruction.
Do you have market value?
As for the market value, see, that one, I can't speak to it because I don't deal in it. Some of the cases started 2020 till now.
So this very site, as you look at it, may be a very frustrating scene for users of the narcotic substance. But the law has to take its course. Latif Idris, Joy News, from the Osu Beach here in Accra.
And now to health. The Presbyterian Hospital, Agogo, has commissioned a refurbished computerized tomography CT scan facility and a wellness clinic in their efforts to meet the highest healthcare standards. Patients in and around Asante Achim Agogo in need of advanced diagnostics have now been spared the long travel to Kumasi or Accra. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
The Presbyterian Hospital Agogo is on the path of becoming a tertiary health service provider. The 93-year-old facility usually uses typical clinical diagnostics in patients' treatment, which is not favorable in an era of evidence-based medicine. To address this situation, the Presbyterian Hospital Agogo has unveiled a new self-funded computerized tomography scan unit. The CT scan is a type of imaging that uses X-ray techniques to create detailed images of the body to plan medical, surgical or radiation treatment. Radiologist at Presbyterian Hospital Agogo, Francis Collins Bimpong, says doctors can now refer delicate medical conditions requiring scans, which will aid patient monitoring.
Previously, patients had to travel long distances from Agogo to Kumasi to have these CT scans done. Now, people within our catchment areas in Agogo, in Konongo, in Fominkoko, even towards Ejuso can now come to access such important facility.
Additionally, the hospital opened its first wellness clinic to provide accessible services including comprehensive health screening, lifestyle counseling, and nutritional guidance for patients and staff. General Manager of the Presbyterian Hospital Agogo, Reverend Ezekiel Amadu Daribi, says the new installments reinforce the hospital's commitment to provide quality and standardized healthcare services.
This is the only secondary facility in the whole of this area. And therefore, in as much as we have dreams of becoming a tertiary facility, we think it is also appropriate that we continue to expand the services so that our teaming clients will have a better health service delivery.
The clergy and heads of the Presbyterian Health Services joined in the opening of these facilities, including the unveiling of an official lapel brooch of the Presbyterian Hospital Agogo. It was on the sidelines of the inauguration of the Advisory Board of the Presbyterian Nursing and Midwifery Training College Agogo. Representative of Farm Access, George Affle, assured of continuous support to make the hospital thrive. The chairman of the Advisory Board, Reverend David Abuaji Dankwa, appreciated the church for the tax bestowed on them, promising to fulfill responsibilities diligently. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Now, let me bring you an interesting story. His aspiration was to become a professional footballer, but this turned into a mirage after suffering a shoulder injury. 24-year-old Stephen Ichampong, unperturbed but resolved not to become a burden on his family after only completing his secondary education, is now making a living out of shoe washing in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. Emmanuel Bright Kweku caught up with the SHS graduate who is raking in profits from what some describe as a basic home chore to escape Ghana's unemployment situation plaguing the youth.
With a basin of water, soap and his brush, Stephen makes a livelihood out of a chore one would deem a personal task to keep clean, shoe washing. This has been his daily source of income after graduating with a high school certificate.
For one, I'm here, and I'm started sneaker washing, and I started 3 years.
I used to help someone sell sneakers. When the market became slow, I decided to focus on shoe washing as a business.
So, as an IF, say you want to wear the outdoor. And I'm saying, I make me the local business. Like, say, you be sharing the name or the banner, my Mahama. No, Miska.
Stephen Echampong, 24 years old, had dreams of becoming a professional footballer, but this was truncated after suffering a shoulder injury in 2017. In this vicissitude of life, he resolved not to succumb, but make the best out of his situation.
I used to play football when I completed school. I stopped after suffering a shoulder injury.
After COVID, I started right now,
I doubt I did be able to achieve my dreams.
As the eldest of 3 siblings, his mother was questioned for not allowing him focus on continuing his education to a higher level. People asked why I didn't allow him further his education. Because he was obsessed with football, I couldn't do anything about it. I'm glad at what he's doing now. Stephen now plies his trade along the cramped veranda of his mother's house at Bantama, a suburb of Kumasi. At his mini shoe shop, he sells these varieties of pre-owned sneakers and Crocs neatly cleaned. Social media has come in as a handy advertising tool for him. Each morning, Stephen finds himself hooked on TikTok to attract more customers while he inspires others.
There is one lady.
There was a lady who told me she was inspired by what I do and would love for me to help her establish one in Accra.
My inspire to be
I like how he washes my shoes.
Air Force, Jordan, different sneakers.
The Ghana Statistical Service reports about 1.9 million youth in Ghana are neither in school, employed, nor in training. With this unemployment situation walloping the youth in the country, Stephen is committed to his craft despite being belittled.
Some girls were teasing me initially, but I'm not perturbed. I know what I want to achieve. I plan on expanding the business.
Very big. Maybe our branches.
I didn't need you home. Mama say,
he should be focused on what he loves. He should save the proceeds from it for the future. I may be willing to support him, but he must save some cash.
Now, so they are supporting me.
With his gaze fixed on a happy ending, Stephen anticipates a better future from his trade while he inspires others to make enough from the little they have. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Well, that's an interesting story from Emmanuel Bright Kweku. Now, moving on, the Cape Coast Technical University has emphasized the need for industries to relocate to Cape Coast to foster the growth of Ghana's ancient capital. The university asserts that Cape Coast offers a unique environment conducive for business development. Speaking at a lecture honoring the 25th anniversary of the Paramount Chief of Cape Coast, Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, Professor Kwame Bamfoije, highlighted the city's potential for business growth.
Professor Emmanuel Kwame Bamfoije indicated in his lecture to honor the Omahine of the Ogwa traditional area, Osaberma Kwesiata II's 25th anniversary on the throne, that Cape Coast offers a peaceful environment for businesses to thrive. He called on industries and other businesses to take advantage of the environment to bring in more businesses.
It is true, Cape Coast, as compared to other regions, might be having many industries there. Ours, we cannot count many of them here. There are only just a few. However, when we put our hands together, definitely change that narrative, people will say that Cape Coast is a place of good business. And if you recall, in recent development that you can see, even there's now China Mall coming up, which have been built around Third Bridge. iSense is also putting up their foundation close to the opposite DVLA there. Other businesses are coming up. This rice factory that we have seen, it is here in Cape Coast, and they are producing about 1,200 bags a day. Looking at the number of workers that they will engage in this level. So if another individual or other investors come over to see Cape Coast as a beacon of hope, usually Cape Coast has the necessary facility that you have. In terms of electricity issue, even though there might be some challenges, it is not as rampant as other cities. Here is quite constant. So when you have your power, you are able to do your job effectively. There's peace in this town, and it's easier for you to move around in terms of vehicular movement. So investors should come and invest in Cape Coast. And the residents of Cape Coast should embrace the crab as a means of positive development rather than negative thoughts.
He spoke on the significance of the crab, the insignia of Cape Coast.
So usually the crab has positive connotation rather than negative connotation. And if we as people in Cape Coast try to learn from the crab, we would be able to see the necessary development that we would want to see. Indeed, those who have embraced the crab symbolism, practice it, have seen positive light in terms of their development. As we have indicated, they are very good in terms of resilience. They are very good in terms of adaptability. Adaptability means that at times when there are difficult moments, they do not give up, but they try as best to adapt to the situation and make good use of that situation that they find themselves.
Vice Chancellor of the Cape Coast Technical University, Professor Kweku Educhum Eyimboachi, paid a glowing tribute to Osaberma Kwesiata's pioneering role in keeping the peace of Cape Coast.
Nana is a respected leader, a cultural icon, an advocate for development and progress in Ogwa traditional area. I am a living testimony. I'm in Mebetnaha 1981. So I've seen Cape Coast from 1981 to 2024. And I've seen Cape Coast from 99, 98 to date.
Osaberma Kwesiata II thanked the university for the honor done him.
Well, it's now time for business update with my favorite person, Benjamin Akapo.
And I'm taking the baton from my favorite person as well, Denisia Poma-Eje. On now to our first business story. Ghana's remittances have witnessed some significant increments to reach $3.5 billion ending June this year. This is based on data picked up from the Bank of Ghana. There's more in this report.
In June last year, the country got $2.5 billion when it comes to remittances. However, it saw some significant jump to hit $3.5 billion at the end of June this year. When you look at the full year numbers for 2023, the country realized $5.1 billion. But for the Bank of Ghana, the strong growth in the numbers can be linked to some fresh measures implemented to close all the loopholes when it comes to transfers into the country. If this trend is anything to go by, then it's likely that Ghana will end the year with an improved position when it comes to the end of year numbers for remittances. The development is good for the country's dollar reserves and could go a long way to help stabilize the Ghana cedi.
Well, on our second story, Ghana has been ranked 6th behind Morocco and ahead of peers like Tunisia and Nigeria in the latest Where to Invest in Africa 2020 report. Ghana represents a substantial market on the continent as it tops among the West African peers on the ranking. There's more in this report.
Discounting the two highly desirable but tiny islands, Seychelles and Mauritius, Ghana is the fourth most investable country in the model behind Egypt, South Africa and Morocco. With a GDP of $76 billion and a population of some 33.5 million people, Ghana represents a substantial market. Further, Ghana is among the top 10 for urbanization, innovation, political stability, personal freedom and employment. It also ranks favorable on corruption and tops the list of import concentration. Critical to macroeconomic stability is addressing high public debt and inflation, particularly against the backdrop of a 3-year, $3 billion extended credit facility program with the IMF. There are positive signs on the fiscal front. The report said fiscal consolidation is broadly on track with an estimated deficit of 4.6% of GDP at the end of 2023, significantly lower than the 10.7% deficit in 2022. At 15.7% of GDP in 2023, revenues and grants reached the same level as 2022 despite lower oil revenues. By 2027, growth is forecast to benefit from increased gold and oil export as new projects come online. Ghana is followed by Tunisia, Senegal and Nigeria.
Now segue into our currency market for the day. That's it for business, ceding to my favorite person, Denisia Pumaije.
Benjamin, my favorite person. And that's it for AM News. But right after this is News Review. We'll be joined by Kofi Kapito, Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Protection Agency, and Afilmoni, former GJA President. My name is Denisia Pumaije. Have a lovely weekend.